Okay, so I think this is some kind of lactarius, but I couldn't find it in my Baroni book. I don't know what it is. It had a sticky cap. There you see it. It was very sticky. That's the side of it. And then the latex was like kind of the color of the gills. It was kind of like a creamy colored. And then after some time, it stained brown. The gills stained brown.
Not purple.
I'm sorry?
Not purple? The milk around where the milk.
No.
It was really brown, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and that took some time, but you can see there where I cut it. That's where I freshly cut it. It was kind of like just cream. And then, yeah, I mean, it was definitely darker. I don't recall it being purple. I thought it was just brown, but
Yeah.
why? What's purple?
Well,
purple?
Offhand, it looked like something I find here. What kind of trees was it under?
Oh shoot, Mike, where did we find this? Was it at Mecklin? That's a really good question. Now, like we've been to so many parks in the last few days, I'm not recalling which one this was from. Sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, it probably was mixed woods at the very least.
Did you taste the mushroom a little bit?
No.
I wouldn't taste the lactarius.
Well, tasting lactarius is one of the essential things you need to do to be able to ID it.
Is that right?
Okay.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Do you have more picture? You think that you have more picture. Can you show this?
I do, but they're not uploaded. It would take me some time to get them, but I mean, this pretty much shows all of the features. You know, there's this type. How much do you know? A lot of lactarius that have sticky caps. Is that common?
Yeah, it is kind of, if you have wet weather, especially.
Oh, okay, interesting. All right.
Yeah, we need the color of the milk. What it does it change the color? Does it stay? Is it white from the get-go, or is it a different color? And the taste of the milk and in the crushed flesh, and also the odor. You know, those are the key parameters that you need to apply to the key dichotomous key in the book by the Bissets.
Okay. All right, I'll do that next time.
So, you know, from the picture alone, you know, sometimes it is possible to make an ID, but you understand that, you know, the book is, you know, it's an authority of a sort, but the picture is much more complicated with lactarius in the United States. We have a lot of species, and we have species complexes. But this one looks pretty distinct.
As far as I understand, that lactarius is notoriously difficult sometimes, especially it's not very like whatever the feature shows in the picture is not distinctive. So when you were saying that the color changed brown, do you mean, first, I'm not a lactaria expert because this is a very difficult group. I'm also new to this. But I want to ask you, when you say the color changed to brown, do you mean the latex become brown, or you mean the gill stains brown? So there are two different kinds of description.
I think it was where I scratched the gills, it turned brown. So I'm not really sure. You know, how much of that was the latex or how much of that was the gills or both. I don't know. But the gills definitely changed in that one little spot. I don't know. All right.
Was it just this one, or were there multiples around?
This was the only one I saw.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're off to a roaring start here.
Sorry, cannot help much.
That's all right. I was just curious.
Okay, all right. Caroline, you've got one, you say.
Yes, I actually have two. Share now. The first one that I wanted to show is something that my coworker found on a Facebook group chat. So this was the only picture I could find. I just said that I would swing it by to see if anyone could ID this. It's not a lot to go off. It looks like it could be worm castings or possibly eggs, but I just thought I'd run it by you guys if it looks like any kind of slime mold that would be familiar to anyone. No, it's not much to look at.
Hmm.
I mean, it could be a slime mold, but it's hard to tell without
Yeah.
up closer, or whether it has spores inside of it. If you break the crust and see if it had spores.
Yeah, I don't even know the individual who posted it. If I had their contact information, I would have asked them, but I was thinking a slime mold too.
Yeah, I always need more details.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on a cooler note, I believe I have stumbled across a cool Ganoderma species. Not totally sure. My camera quality is kind of shaky on this picture, but you can see pores a little bit better here. It's terrible. And
Igor Bondarzevii at the beginning?
It was
Yeah,
on
it doesn't look like a Ganoderma to me.
Oh, you think Ganoderma, huh?
Oh, no, I don't think it is.
oh,
Yeah,
Doesn't
I don't
look
think
like
it's, I don't think it looks like a Ganoderma either.
No.
I would lean more towards Bondarzevia berkeley in the young stage form. If you have a chance to go back and look at it again in a few days, that might be a foot across, if it is that.
oh, it's growing very fast. This picture I actually took 3 days ago, and I can go back there now and check. It's probably a lot bigger each day.
Yeah, the thick kind of growing edge is what's making me think that. And also to look around for what tree it might be working on the roots of.
Yeah, it was all around this big old oak tree.
Yeah, oak tree, that sounds right, if I remember.
In my experience, Bondarzevia grows right at the foot of the tree, near the trunk, not on the
Yeah.
roots.
Yeah, where it comes into the,
Exactly at the base, where the ground meets with the trunk.
Yeah,
Right.
that's exactly how I saw it.
yeah,
But the,
somebody else will have to spell that because it's a really weird spelling.
I'll try to spell.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all I have.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't really have a sense of scale. Looks like it's pretty tiny in here.
this is like palm sized, if that makes
Yeah.
any difference. This is the underside of this one.
It's not Merlipolis or Meropilus, whatever, some stimuli before it starts to turn into fronds.
I think the fronds would not be so thick if it was that. And also you can check that by, if you go back, touch it a couple of places. And if that's the case, it'll turn kind of black
Right.
Okay.
very readily, being this young.
Okay, yeah, I'll go try that later this evening maybe. Thank you,
Yeah.
guys.
Bring another photo next week.
I will.
Yeah, be interesting to see, because that can take a little, more than a few days to grow.
Okay. Yeah, you guys will see it next week then. Thank you.
All right. and-
Is the common name of this mushroom is Berkeley polypore?
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I mean, if you're lucky, someone did not pick it up, then you're still gonna find it. But if it's taken, probably it's not gonna be there. Because I remember this mushroom. If it's young stage, it is edible. I mean, I never tried it, but
Hmm.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I might do a little bit more research on that and let you guys know.
I would suspect it would be like chewing shoe leather.
It's all the experience. I haven't seen any, it's in a like relatively, people walk through that area often and I haven't seen anyone harvesting any of it. So, but then again, who knows?
Your worst thing would be some kid will come along and kick it apart.
Yeah, probably.
That's much more likely if it's close to a path or something.
Yeah, it is. I'll have to go check it out before the kids get to it then.
All right. So I'm gonna try to share some here unless somebody else has got something ready to go. Anybody? Okay. All right. Let's see if I can share the screen. All right, Susan, you're up. This is the first of yours.
Yeah, this was last week, last Wednesday, and I was very excited to find these. These are what I would, well, until we get the American name, I would call it Cantharella sibarius, the true chanterelle. If you can close up, you can see the sort of blunt, ridgy gills. But they tasted good. I cooked them up tonight too. There must have been over 100 there, and this is the first time that I've ever found these, and this is in a place where I knew they grew, so I had an alert that they might be out. So I checked. They were almost entirely not buggy, and they were very young and fresh. So I've had them in well, I gave some away, but I've had them in a Tupperware little thing that's not very deep, and then covered with wax paper, and then sort of a lid over that, but not tightly, to see how long I can keep them for. And I think because they were so fresh, they've kept really well. And they've tasted really good. So
they're beautiful.
yeah, they are. They really were beautiful. They were a little bit waterlogged, but that's okay. It just means you have to cook a little longer to cook out the moisture.
Do you do the dry
Susan, you found
saute?
these by you? Oops, sorry.
I'm sorry. Lila, what did you say?
Yeah, when you were cooking, do you do the dry saute first and then add your fat?
Oh, I never heard of that. Well, no, I don't tend to do that. I tend to put butter and a little bit of oil. I knew because we're pretty wet that I didn't need to have an awful lot of oil.
Try the dry saute the next time you do it. It helps with the
Moisture? Does
yeah,
it really?
Yeah, and the
Yeah, I do that too.
Mhm.
I will say though that I always cook them till they're got some browning. Then you know, I know that they're cooked through. And I had a little bit of shallot with it too, so it tasted really good.
Wonderful.
Brown
Sounds great.
rice. Yeah, it was really good tonight. I've had them already 3 times this past.
I'm curious, has anybody in Central Jersey found any good sized chanterelles yet? The reason I ask is because I checked on like 4 or 5 of my spots, and they're teeny tiny little nubs, if anything, right now.
Well, some of this is going to depend on your weather. Nubs that don't get rain. Well,
I will go Lebanon, Round Valley. Last week, not much rain, but right now it rains pretty heavy today. So I'm expecting some probably the end of this week or probably beginning of next week.
Susan, I think your chanterelles are associated with conifers, and that's why they grew so early, so far up north.
yeah,
Everything that you see right now is mostly growing with conifers, not with oaks.
Oh, okay.
and where I am, though, just around the 4th of July is when I tend to get my first flushes. And this was last Wednesday, so, you know, the 4th was yesterday. So they're just a little early, but not that early. I had checked.
We
I-
get our early flushes of hardwood associated chanterelles about the same time, but I think these are conifer associated.
Yeah,
You
I
can
think
see
you're right there.
the needles
Yeah.
in there too.
Yeah, and the biggest, dominant trees is a big white pine and other conifers that are smaller, but also there's a white birch, paper birch that they could be associated with. I have yet to see up here what what you probably call down in New Jersey, the smooth one, the Cantharellus latericius. I don't see that up here. I only see.
Yeah, those, like I said, show up here in around Independence Day. This is when I see them. Typically in my place
Yeah.
where I
The
usually
nice,
go.
for those who don't know, or at least for me up here, these can flush 3 times during the summer. They'll quit for another couple of weeks after they've worn themselves out. And then maybe in August at some point they'll come out. And then maybe even in late September, if it's warm enough and wet enough, they'll come back in the same places again. So last year that happened, especially in this spot. The funny thing about this spot is it's right along a major path to a major hiking trail. And once in a while, somebody else will pick them, but rarely does somebody pick them. And I know people go by it. So that surprises me.
Yeah, I find the same thing here. They're right in the middle of the trail, and I'm always surprised to find them.
Yeah, well, these I've been watching even before I moved up here. I think I knew where this particular spot was. Okay.
Now, my experience with the European Cantharellus sabarius is that it never gets buggy.
Is that right?
Absolutely. On the other hand, the smooth chanterelle here from North America always gets buggy.
Yeah.
But you never see the larva. You just see the tracks at the leaf. I've never seen a single insect inside chanterelle.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that when I was in New Jersey, that you always saw the trails and the eaten out part, but you never really saw the actual thing itself. Here was very few of these had any trails in them at all, which was nice. You cut the end and it's completely clean, or it looks clean, which is very unusual.
And that's exactly my experience because, when I was younger, I lived across the pond, and I've been collecting chanterelles there for a long time too, relatively long. So I've never seen them buggy.
Oh,
They're always clean up. I think they probably produce some chemicals, and insects never leave, their eggs on these mushrooms.
Oh, that's a thought. I never thought of that. Huh. Okay, so this Loliophyllum separarium, this is a conifer rotting kind of fungus, and it seems to be a kind of a first invader kind of thing. The Paul Smith's Vic about 2 years ago cut down a lot of trees in one area, almost clear cutted. Yeah, you're you're filling more than my screen now, Lila. With the prettiest part to look at is the bottom ones, which are attached to that wood. And then I've turned one upside down that's young, and then the 2 at the top are from last year, just to see how they change and vary over time. But I have to, this whole area where they were cutting is mostly conifers, balsam fir, white pine, all kinds of things. And they're just everywhere here in this whole area. But this is not something that's uncommon in my area. And you'll see this on fence posts wherever, I remember in New Jersey, we'd be places and see it in fence posts, which tells me that the wood that they're using for the fence is conifer. But it's a pretty neat little fungus. It's a polypore, even though those look kind of like gills. They're elongated, sort of evolutionary in between, I always say. But I don't know what its associated relatives are. Neat fungus, though. Okay, and then.
Really nice picture. That's a great shot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good shot.
Came out pretty good, but also so that, this is the sort of thing that I put it in my own file of species, so that if I ever want to refer back to what it looks like around here, I like to have a good shot with all ages and underneath, young and old. Sort of takes after what Roger Phillips used to do. I didn't cut one in half. That would be the last thing that he would have done, even to show on its cross section kind of thing, what the interior flesh would be like. But they're pretty, aren't they?
Very pretty.
Yeah. And this next one is just today. Sorry, it's not a better picture, but it was kind of, it's been raining kind of off and on today. But these were the first ones that I've seen. There was about 10 or 15 of them out there. And I've been kind of looking for them because they're always in this same general area, also at the Pulse Vic. Hemilexinum subglabripes, I think we're calling this now. And I had a mushroom walk today, and I had about 8 people with me. So, you know, I cut one in half to show them and experience the tubes and how you can peel the tubes away. And these were also pretty clean inside. And I have eaten these last year or the year before, just because I knew it was a good enough bolete. And it was so clean looking each time I found it. And you know, this is another one that, Igor, I rarely have seen this buggy. I wonder if the same thing, what you were just saying, although in the cap sometimes, you know, in the tubes, you might see a lot.
Well, this species actually is very uncommon in New Jersey because I think it's mostly a birch associate.
Yeah, okay, birch, yeah.
I mean, you'll find it in Connecticut and Massachusetts, but, you know, once you come down closer to the Mason-Dixon line, it's no show. What we do have, you know, in abundance is its brother, Hemilexinum rubropunctum.
Oh, interesting. So you say this one is with birch?
Yes.
Yeah, there was, yeah, well, my forests have a lot of birch, and this one I know there was some nearby. But that for me is interesting to know because I haven't kept up with whatever the literature or whoever's making those associations.
Right. Well, like I said, you know, I maybe have seen this species only once or twice in New Jersey, and then I wasn't 100% sure. I didn't keep a specimen. I didn't sequence it. You know, I did sequence this species from upstate New York, near Copiague, when I was at Homa, you know, 5 or 6 years ago. And that was a weird collection too. So it was actually bluing, believe it or not. So occasionally I think, you know, some glabre pieces when it blew.
I have, you know, I was trying to look at that to see if it really did that, but you said, what was the one that you have down where you are that's with what? Rubropunctum. Rubropunctum.
Yeah, Hemilexinum rubropunctum. It has a really, really red dotted stipe and maybe darker cap, but it's also wrinkled. And otherwise, it's, you know, almost identical in stature and other properties to some properties.
Yeah, it often has that little bend down at the bottom of the stem.
Yes, correct.
Otherwise equal as far as thickness.
Yeah, S-shaped, you know, base of stipe. And often has a very unpleasant smell of old cigarette butts.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Well, I do.
And what did you say yours was with? What kind of tree?
Oh, that thing, probably oak. We find it in the different kind of habitats. It grows in the pine barrens. It grows also in uplands, you know, mixed forests, you know, with oak and
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it occupies different niches. But, you know, this guy that you see, you know, like I said, you know, maybe a couple of times I've seen it only.
Well, this is pretty common around me, especially, you know, like if I saw it at Vic today and I was looking for it because it always turns up in the same place. But if I go other places, it will be up now. You know what I mean? Whatever the weather conditions we've had, it will trigger all of them in this general area.
Sure.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. I tend to have the same flora, and it's always interesting to me. And yet, this quit after about 3 weeks, and then I won't see it again. Which is also another interesting kind of character for these things.
Yeah, well, if you look in the old field guides, you know, by the Bissett, you know, boletes.
Yeah.
They claim that it grows all the way down to Florida, and it doesn't. And what they have in Florida, I think, is possibly, I could be mistaken about the species name, Hemioxylum floridanum. And also, there's a lookalike of some glabripes, almost like a perfect doppelganger, except that it's not a Hemioxylum. I have collections from New Jersey, I have collections from Virginia, and even Louisiana. Nobody knows what it is. The DNA, it was difficult to place that species into any known genus or even a subfamily of Boletaceae. So the lookalike of Glabripes is a mystery. Maybe next time I will show it, in a presentation, because it can be occasionally common.
Well, not everything is known on these groups of.
Absolutely. And again,
And
it's one of
that's
those mysterious boletes that you cannot place phylogenetically into any known genus of Boletaceae. It just doesn't work.
That's where we can help mycologists try and sort some of this out.
Yeah, you probably need the whole genome sequencing for that.
Yeah. Well, these are pretty consistent in at least this particular one site. The interesting thing with this is just about 20 feet down the same side of the path, there's a funny Swillus. It's a lookalike to Swillus americanus, but it's a little oranger and paler with tighter pores.
It's called Sabarius.
That's right, you are. And it was Renee LeBoeuf. It took me 4 years before I saw her picture on the computer, which makes sense that, Lower Canada, she isn't that far away. But I had it verified and sent to Duke University to Ritas Felis, who was excited to see it because Sabarius is associated with aspen, he thinks. Not aspen. Yeah, poplar, aspen.
I think oak.
Well, I don't have any oaks here where I am, especially.
Well, it's probably promiscuous hardwoods. I think it's the only species that is associated with
as opposed to pines.
Deciduous trees, but it does grow, I think, with hemlock too.
Oh yeah, hemlocks it could be with that. Anyway, when I find that, I'll try and show it because it's really quite interesting. That it looks. I looked at it and I said, something's wrong with this Swillus americanus. And it bugged me for quite a while before I find it. So anyway, there's some interesting boletes around here. And I think I have one more picture, Lila.
You do.
Excuse me, can anyone just type the name of this bolete? You guys are so good at pronouncing the Latin name.
It's already in the chat.
Oh, okay, sure. I mean, I didn't see it. Sorry. I mean,
yeah, Igor already has it in the chat. Now, I haven't caught up with the splitting up with the Lactarius, but I think when I put this on iNaturalist, and this is, last week sometime, that it's Lactifluus deceptivus. This is one of our most common Lactarius up here. And I know there's a number of white kind of scruffy looking Lactarius around here, but this one's pretty dominant and consistent because of the amount of conifers I have here. It always has that kind of scruffy brown scaling business, kind of soft and woolly around the edge of the margin. These were the first ones I've seen, but sometimes when these get going, which could be within the next couple of weeks or even a little later, they get the size of dinner plates. They get huge in certain areas, but these four were in a little clump. And I was kind of surprised to see it right next to the marsh on the Paul Smith Vic property. And these had actually dried out just slightly. You can see the milk up on the top one on the left there. Yeah, Lactifluus deceptivus. I haven't changed my, what shall I say? All of my guides would say Lactarius, but I haven't changed my brain over to understand entirely the difference or how you recognize Lactifluus or Lactarius yet. I will eventually, maybe. But I thought, you folks would get a kick out of seeing this. Part of the distinctive thing in that Lila's showing that closer is the edge of the margin is kind of soft and woolly, much more so when they're younger. They actually look like donuts when you look at them from the top without a donut hole. They're so tightly enrolled and round, perfectly round. And then the distance between the gills is another feature, because some is it Russula pipperatus or Lactarius pipperatus, that's very tight, close together gills.
It is Lactarius, Lactifluus probably, pipperatus.
Yeah, see, I never see that, very rarely. And then you have down where you are, I think, subvalerius, which is a.
Yeah, we have Sevillarius. I may want to add, and I think we talked about this before, maybe last year, that there's a paper out there, probably a few years old. Apparently, Deceptivus is a species group.
Yeah, I would believe that.
They did sequence Pex type, and they know exactly genetically what Pex Deceptivus is, except that we have, a bunch of other species that are, it's a very tight grouping of species, and without the DNA, you cannot tell them apart.
Yeah, I knew that. And yet, like I said, I've never, before I moved up here, I never had a good handle on the ones in New Jersey, but this one seems to be pretty consistently what I see. But when I get, 30 miles in any direction, I'm less confident of what I might be looking at. But it's a neat mushroom, because when they come up, there can be hundreds of them in an area, just hundreds of them.
Unfortunately, they are inedible. They're very acrid.
Yeah, they're really bad taste. Yeah, that's another good character.
But do these come up throughout the summer and into the early fall?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because sometimes I'm up there and I'll see like 30, 40, 50.
Warm and wet, I would have said, but yes, I haven't seen them into the fall.
Okay. September, basically.
Yeah, at least September, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's all I have, though.
Yeah, that was it.
From this week.
All right, so let me see who's next here. Paul K. Not here. All right. Now let me get into my net. The first one. I'm gonna pull this back up. Okay, Paul K.
Thank you, Lila. You're doing a great job. I found this one yesterday. It's about the diameter of a penny. That cap there, not great. I've got a little bit better resolution on that cap and a few more pictures. That one's a little blurred. So growing, I believe, directly off of some rotten wood. It would be hardwood. There's definitely no conifers where I'm generally walking. There's a decent shot of the underside. And I'm really fairly clueless as to what this might be, because I'm a relative beginner. And another shot there. It's a fairly rough textured stem, similar in color to the cap there, which again, I think that the very last picture will have the best resolution on some of this. Here we go. Or one of them. So whether anyone has any good ideas or not, I'd appreciate it.
Could you please show the gills again?
Absolutely. I'm thinking anosopy.
No, this is not an
No?
anosopy. No.
Okay.
This is from the, I don't know, actually from the gill. In the beginning, I was thinking it was a gymnopus, but
That's what I thought too.
But when I see the cap, it looks so different. So I'm not sure. I mean, from the gill and the stem, quite similar to gymnopus, but That's my input.
Thank you. Yeah, I put it into iNaturalist. You know, I let iNaturalist give me a suggestion. It came up with flammulaster, which I don't know if that's correct or not.
Well, the scaly cap, suggests maybe it's a cystoderma or cystodermella. So you could fish in that pond if you like. The gills though, I mean, they kind of look like gymnopus a little bit, but the rest of the mushroom doesn't.
But just one more comment. Actually, the iNaturalist recommendation, the flammulaster, may also work, but I think the spore color is a little bit different. It seems that the gill is too white here. I only see once of the flammulaster, but anyway.
Yeah, and I did not get a spore print out of this, but yeah, and obviously you can see it's growing right out of the wood. So anyway, well, I appreciate the effort.
Looks like some rhizomorphs there too from this, maybe.
Perhaps, yeah.
Interesting. All right.
Thank you. Let's take a look at, yeah.
What Lila means, the rhizomorph is like a root, like you see, like there. Yeah, that one. So
right. Okay.
Sometimes those are noted in the guidebooks to help identify if they're a prominent feature. Okay. All right, let's go to your next one.
Sorry to butt in. I'm kind of in and out. But on the flammulaster versus Stropharia or any of those kind of Stropharia-like ones, I'm not seeing too much in the veil material on that last one.
Okay.
Like on the cap margin or on the stipe.
Okay.
Stropharia has a purpley black spore print and gills, not white.
Okay, here's unknown number 2, very slimy sort of top. The bugs absolutely adored this thing. That stipe there, every one of them I found was entirely hollow because it had already been eaten out. Very slimy on the top. Again, in the hardwood forest there, looked like it was growing directly out of the soil. You can see a few gills there. Maybe, what else can I say about it? Couple of young ones, even those were almost entirely hollow. I think I have one more picture of a cross section. Oh yeah, there's a cross section. You can see the entire stipe is pretty rotted out, and then you can see a little bit of the gill attachment there. And I don't have a spore print for you on this one as well. So.
Rasula, but I don't know the Latin name. It should be a common one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's in fact what iNaturalist was suggesting was a Russula, and it just didn't seem right. But then again, I don't.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a Russula.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the funny ones. I would have said it's what my ex-husband and Ray Fatto used to call the smelly Russula group. Did you happen to smell it?
I did not.
Under the gills for these Russulas, the ones that are the smelly, they smell a little bit like marzipan or rotten almonds or really kind of strong, some of them even really bad.
Okay.
But again, yeah. See, Igor's put a question mark, Russell something.
Right. Okay,
Russell
very good.
You need you need a good key, and also these aren't old enough to show you any spores, plus a microscope if you're going to identify these. You're doing well to get to Russula.
Yes, I'm more than happy to be at Russula. I will update my my observation and be very content with Russula.
And with depending on your weather, some of the Russulas will pretty much start out, or if you have a dewy kind of moist day, they will have that kind of slimy, tacky surface.
Sure. And one more, this one I happen to know already. I just thought it was a neat picture, little eye candy for you all. It's called Abortoporus biennis. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. This is the aborted form of what looks like a pretty normal polypore, but this is an entirely different morphology of this aborted form. I don't know what causes it to take on this form here, but this was taken I think last Thursday, and then I have another picture of it 4 days later. The same piece. This is only about 2.5, 3 inches top to bottom there, but it was interesting. I don't know too many about. I really only know about this other, as far as aborted forms of mushrooms. I obviously know about Entoloma abortivum and how they can look really drastically different from each other, but I imagine there's other examples of that. This is growing on a stump of wood here.
Is that
A
something
beautiful picture.
Yeah,
parasitic going on with that?
I have no idea. Yeah, I need to maybe read up a little bit more on it. Let me just, in fact, let me just go ahead and type this genus in here.
Beautiful picture.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a nice discovery. It was about 5 feet away from my park where I parked my car. It was the very first thing I saw on my walk and almost stepped on it. So that's the last of my items there.
Okay, very good.
Thanks, Lila.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Nice photos. All right, let's see who's up next. Amy Freed. Amy, are you on? I think Amy is on, but we'll scroll down here and see what she's got.
That's what we would call an LBM, little brown mushroom.
Yep.
I think it's Lactarius.
You think?
Yep.
Yeah, actually, I agree with Igor. It looks very much like Lactarius, but it's just a very small one, very small one.
Missing the bottom of the stipe. But, yeah. All right, I think this next one is a different. Well, maybe this is where it was growing. Is that the same thing?
There it does look more like a Lactarius. It's got that little tiny umbo in the center of the cap.
Looks like it's growing in some sandy soil. Or maybe that's decayed wood, not sure. All right, here it is again. All right, Amy, you're not on? Okay. All right, I think that was all that she sent. Virginia, all right, what do we have here? One observation on INET.
Okay. This is from a moist chamber culture, hardwood dead tree. It was very heavy, thick bark. And that's and these are very tiny. They're about less than a millimeter tall. And the way they look like with a crown, it's because the spores shrink inside and form a spore ball. And the net stays around them. Now there's another picture that really shows how pretty they are. They're like golden net practically around the spore ball. And this is Cribraria confusa. And I don't know why they call it confusa, because it's very easy to identify. There's no problem identifying it. But it's one of the very tiny ones. This is from Hunterdon County, Kingwood Township, New Jersey. And next time I go, I might just look at the tree itself and see if I can see anything, you know, just out there in the woods. But they're so tiny, they'd be hard to find. And that's just under the microscope before I smashed it. Of another one that wasn't shrunk, like, and that's the bottom of the stipe.
That one with the net around it, that's really some picture.
That's really beautiful. And I know
Yeah.
there's a couple of on iNaturalist. There's a woman in Australia who put one on that really had a neat picture like that too. This is when I smashed it. And you can see the net. And you look at the description of the net and you see that each node, there's no free ends, because other Cribrarias sometimes have little free ends sticking out of the nodes, and that's another identifying mark, but this one has none. And the spores are about 7 microns, I think. And
that's what all of these little globose
those are the spores, right?
structures are. Yeah.
And they don't entirely look smooth.
They're fairly smooth. They're not really too,
A little bit rough around the edges.
they might be a little rough. I forget exactly of the description, but they're not really spinulose, like with big spines on them. Yeah, it's a little closer. So the nodes, on some species, the nodes can be sort of piled up with granules. And in this case, they're not. They're just pretty flat. But they just take those little various shapes of the, you know, the net that goes around the whole thing.
And that one photo, the net looked golden, really.
Right, when you see it, when the spores have shrunk down to a ball, and you can, if you catch it just right with the light on it, it does look like golden wires.
Yeah.
It's kind of pretty, but they're really, really tiny. So
Super.
there's only 2 or 3 of them on iNaturalist, because I checked to see how common they were. I didn't really look at the global mapper to see how common they are yet. I'll have to check that out.
So that's a real contribution if you put these pictures up.
On iNaturalist,
Yeah, for sure. That's really cool. Sam Ristich would have loved you.
Oh,
He just loved these little tiny things.
oh yeah, I like the tiny things. I don't know why they call it confusa. It's not a very confusing one. Cribrarias can be confusing. Some of them are quite difficult to actually identify. So that's all I had today.
Okay.
Are you lighting them from the side?
Am I what?
Are you lighting them from the side?
Yes. Yeah, I have to try to hold a piece of wood in a certain way and try to get the lamp aimed at them in order to get the picture, and it's not easy.
A lamp?
Yeah, I have a lamp on my microscope, so I can, the microscope, dissecting scope doesn't have a light in it, so I have to use a separate lamp.
Oh, interesting.
All right. Thank you, Virginia.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's see. We got one more. Oh, Ming. All right, Ming. Are you able to talk us through these?
Yeah, sure. I only have two. I think the second one should be easy, but this is about the Mycena. The Mycena is kind of difficult. Mostly I just have questions. It doesn't matter whether we can really get a conclusion of what exactly species is. So it's actually this was in April. It was just off rain, grow on dead hardwood, dead tree, dead log. And then you can see that the question is just like is it easy to identify Mycena just based on the picture, or we should do most of the time like microscopy work or even DNA analysis will get the conclusion? That's just my question. I know it's very difficult sometimes for Mycena.
Mycenas are not easy.
Okay, sure.
The microscope's gotta help.
Oh, okay, sure.
And
All
good
right, then.
literature are key to it. I don't even remember who's working on Mycenas now. If any current literature on them or not.
Okay, no problem. Then yeah, I collect some spore print too. So I mean that it's just white spore print, and then the color is pretty pale. So
Yeah, that's quite good. That amount of, it did a good spore print for you.
yeah, sure. Well, then let's move to the next one. Next one should be easy. So sorry, I only have one picture. I mean, I do have a lot of other picture. This is basically a Auricularia wood ear. I just wanted to narrow down the species. So this one was also in April. I found it, but I never really trying to identify down to the species. I mean, if anybody knows, like, could be which one?
Well, if it's growing on a hardwood, which I think it is or was, it could be Angiospermarum. That's the species name.
Could you please type it up?
Yeah, I'll try.
Because I remember Luke, I saw on his iNaturalist, he has a very similar one at the same time when I saw this. So, all right, let me take notes on that. I do have, because the reason I wanted to check this out is because I want to make a small documentary with it. So I just don't want to make a mistake when I present on that. Oh. But like, there are a lot of different species of Auricularia. It should be fairly easy to identify, right? Is that correct?
Who really knows how many species we have? You know, we have, there's also Auricularia americana, and I think that one could be growing in conifers, but I have to double check that.
Oh, this one is hardwood. This one is hardwood deciduous.
Yes. So there could be others. You know, I mean, I don't think it was well studied. Prior to the to that study from a few years ago, when the species was published, I think we called our Auricularia Auricula judae, which is a European species. So which doesn't occur here apparently.
Sure.
So yeah, you know, we could have a few of them, and you know, just have to do more collections and DNA studies and see what we have.
Got it. But anyway, when I collect them, I ate them, so they are pretty good. So, because I know that in America, people usually don't like to eat this kind of mushroom, but I mean, I like in China is a big tradition eating this, so I just like collect them, I eat them. So
that's the one in the hot and sour soup, is it not? Or
yeah.
Actually, yes, that's what they do. But how I eat it is actually a stir fry. So I stir fry it with some pork and some fermented. Oh, actually, I stir fry with chicken breast. Yes, so I stir fry with chicken breast and put chili pepper sauce. It's actually pretty good.
Sounds delicious.
I like it because I like the texture because it's kind of like crunchy. Yeah.
Special texture. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this mushroom with chicken and put a little celery, that's also delicious. Just put a little garlic.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't actually have much flavor, does it?
Oh, no, it does.
Does it?
Actually, auricularia is one of my favorite edibles. I mean, I used to buy them from a Korean store, when they were cheap and available, and buy them fresh. I also bought the ones that were dried and they were not as good. So if you can get them
Yeah.
fresh, from a cultivated, imported, they're quite nice.
Yeah, the fresh ones are soft and delicious.
Yes.
You can season it however you want it.
Very sweet, nice texture. It's a wonderful mushroom.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say to me they are mild, but I just love the texture very much. It's really like it's really kind of like a jelly, a little bit jello-like, and then when you bite it, it just break. You feel that kind of like a crunchiness. So that's really what I like about it. But yeah, flavor, of course, they absorb, even like if you cook them, they can absorb any flavor you put. But I think I'm not like as eager that he probably, I mean, I never really eat it like by itself. Next time probably in the field I can chew a little bit. Probably they are sweet.
Yes, I ate them by themselves. Actually, I would cook like a big pot of inaki and auricularia mixture, and so I can actually individually taste auricularia. I would actually select it, and as opposed to having it part of a dish and absorb all the other flavors, it was just by itself. So in its pure form, it's a very attractive, delicious mushroom, in my opinion.
Sounds good.
Yeah, a
Okay.
little bit rubbery again. I mean, it's in there, but it's not terrible. I mean, it's actually it's crunchy and a little bit rubbery at the same time. So for my palate, and yeah, it was just pleasant.
Sure. All right. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
This little
Put them when they're fresh before they dry up. That's got to be hard to keep them from drying up.
Well, but that's the beauty of them, is that you can dry them up.
That's true. You can just wet them again, I guess.
Yeah, and that happens in nature. I think it was Brandon Matheny was telling me that a lot of years ago that's kind of their strategy out in the wild, is that they come out, they throw their spores, and instead of just dying and just going away, they dry up and stay on the logs. In my case, I can't even see them sometimes. And when it's wet, they swell up again and throw spores again. And I remember years ago, I watched a collection not too far from me all summer long. They did this. I couldn't believe that the same fruit bodies swelled up at least 6 or 8 times before they eventually just sort of disintegrated from, old age or whatever. But that must be a strategy to get your spores out there, is to shrivel up and then puff up and shrivel up and puff up again. It's really interesting.
You can buy them. You can buy them dried wood ear mushrooms in Chinatown.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And you soak them overnight, and then they become fresh again the next day.
Oh, as long as overnight. Oh, I would have said that.
Yep.
For a long time. I used to be able to pick these and sort of keep them in a little bin, and when I wanted to show people, I could just put some water in and they poof up again. I've heard that this is a good blood thinner. Has anybody read anything on that?
Very medicinal. Yeah, it has a lot of medicinal values.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Interesting.
Okay. How about this other little mushroom growing beneath it here? A whole bunch of them.
Didn't even see them.
I actually have a picture on my natural list, but probably next time I can show it. I mean, I took a picture of them. It's also kind of like a gelatinous, but I forgot the name. But anyway, I can show them next time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's all I have. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you, Ming.
No problem. I got to go, but anyway, thank you very much for having this. I'll see you guys next week.
All
Thanks.
right, bye-bye,
Bye.
Ming.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. How about anybody else? Do we have any other folks with something to share?
Well, I have something to share. I didn't really prepare with a picture or anything, but probably the last thing that I found that was very interesting to me. And I was hiking along the edge of a fence line that had been recently trimmed back by tree cutters. And I found a yellow birch branch that wasn't much bigger than a pencil in diameter that had chaga bursting out of it. Just, it just looked perfectly like chaga, the charcoal color. You dig into it, it's rust underneath. And I'd never seen anything like that before in a branch. I'd always found chaga on the trunks of the birch trees. So I was wondering if anyone else had noticed that before, because it's a new thing for me.
It was on birch?
Yeah. Yeah, like
On
a
a
yellow
twig.
birch. Yellow birch.
I've never seen it on branches either. It's usually on an upright standing tree.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I got it around. I stuffed it away somewhere. I took a picture of it, but I don't know where it is right now. But maybe I'll bring it out next time. Take a pic to show it. But I really like chaga. I live in Connecticut right now, but I lived in Maine for a time, and you could just drive around and look at birch trees and find them, pull over and cut them off. It's great. The tea is great and everything, but it's a lot harder to find a little south. But I was lucky enough to find a fruiting chaga tree in the Watchung reservation, not far from where I grew up. It's completely dead birch that was actually going to spores, and I didn't realize at the time how unique that was, because that's such a rare thing. They rarely ever find them like that. But they're in New Jersey too.
The pores are beneath the bark below the black thing.
Pardon me?
The black thing, the chaga that we see is I want to say sclerotia, but I don't think that's right. It
is right. I think that's what it's referring to.
The fungus distorts the bark of the birch tree into that black thing, and it's classified as a polypore, and the pores are under the bark below that part.
And it never goes to spore until the whole tree dies, and it's just a hollow.
Right. Yeah, that's probably right.
Half a tree. And,
and it also takes years and years for the thing to grow. So
probably, yeah.
That's not why it's not great to be cutting them off all the time. But yeah, I'm surprised. Was it southern Maine that you lived in? Because I heard that.
I did, yeah. You just drive west and look at the edge of these narrow roads where trucks have scraped a tree, and that's where the chaga starts.
It could be. Mm-hmm. I have it commonly up here where I live, which is in the upper Adirondacks.
Interesting. Yeah, I see very little of it here in Connecticut, central Connecticut.
No, the birch trees are not common in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Have you connected to the other clubs in Connecticut?
I haven't joined them. I'm the originally from the New Jersey club, because that's where I grew up.
Connecticut Valley, Mycological CVMS, I forget.
Thanks. I'll check into that.
And then the COMA, which is the Westchester, New York, Westchester County Club. And there's another one, I can't remember what it's called. They have a good foray coming up. If you're in Connecticut, a weekend thing over Labor Day. The COMA foray, they're based in Hebron, Connecticut, southeast of Hartford. It's a really good couple-day foray. And Alan and Arlene Bissett are going to be the mycologists there, as they were last year. I can't go this year because I'm going to Canada for the NEMF, but Yeah, you should check that out. I would have said within the last week to 10 days, and I see Sue McCleary was just on. We had an email for all members about the COMA foray and how to register. I think they call it the Clark Rogerson foray.
Yeah, and it was waitlisted even at the time. I think that blast went out.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at that.
Mm.
It's a really good event. Good collecting sites and good interesting parks and real good camaraderie. And food's a little bit of a makeshift deal now, but still, it's well worth going to.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, keep an eye out for it.
So Sue McCleary put in the chat black knot fungus ? So
Yeah.
I just went to INAT to pull it up because you do see that on twigs. So I just have this up on the screen to ask you if what you found looked anything like any of these. Did we lose Mike already?
Pardon me, are you speaking to me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so the fact that you found what you think is chaga on a twig sets off, question marks in our heads. And
Yep.
Sue suggested maybe it's this stuff, the black knot fungus.
Lila, I'm seeing a constant contact screen. I don't know about anyone else.
All right. Showing this wrong thing, I guess. All right.
Me too. It's a funny screen.
Let me try to share a different screen. How about this?
No. What I saw was sort of like splitting out from the bark and low profile. And it had that classic rust color underneath the black. So I hope I still have it around, or at least a picture on my other phone, because I switched phones and I think some of my pictures got left behind.
It's not really rust color. It's a deep gold.
Yeah.
On the interior of the chaga.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know the color. Maybe I'm not good at describing it, but I've got lots of it around.
Anything like this?
No, it doesn't have that texture. Well, I'll have to share it next time. I think if I look around, I check my old pictures, I could find it. I think I might even have the little the branch around still. So sorry, don't mean to tease you about that, but
okay.
Here it is, Jane.
All right.
yeah, maybe we could drill down a little bit better if I can get some more information for you. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else? Emily, I know you had some nice finds at Victor Gambino. Do you have anything you'd like to share tonight?
Well, I had kind of a busy week and I haven't had a lot of time to be home and sort through my photos yet.
I know the feeling. Okay, all right. Well, anyone else? We have quite a bit of time, actually. All right. I didn't get anything prepared to share either this week, so last call for anyone else to share something.
Right, if you give me a minute, I'll show you pretty pictures of Ganoderma tsugi. Just let me find it, because quite a lot of it up here, but I have to figure out how to do this first.
All right, well, while you're looking for that, I'll remind folks that we have a 4A coming up this Saturday at Meadowood Park. It's in Mendham Township. It's a nice park. There'll be a constant contact blast going out probably Thursday with a link to directions if you've never been there. I went last year and had a good time, and hopefully we're getting a little bit of rain here tonight, which will help because it's been very dry.
Yeah, today's Tuesday. That should be good. Meadow Woods is one of my favorite places. We've been going there for over 40 years. It was one of the first forays I went to. And part of the reason for that, for a small park, is it's really good variety of mushrooms. Really good. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
So this is just a few on this hemlock log that I was on a trail yesterday. And let me see if I can get it to advance here. I have to see, come on, where's the, there it is. There's one of them, that's about 10 inches across. And then I took one off the other end that was a triplet.
Wow.
Turned it over, beautiful white surface. And they're starting to throw their spores. That's why they look a little, not exactly dusty, but like dirty. Where the one in the center is still fairly shiny, so maybe it's not old enough, but some of the rest of these, you could take your finger and kind of wipe off the spores. Let me see if I have another, yeah, close up. Just unbelievably beautiful, and a lot of them. Oop, oh, and this is something you don't want to see. It's an inosopy. I forget what else. Oh, and here's the semi-lex, the hemilexfinums. Oops, sorry. No, yeah, you're not, okay. You're not seeing mushrooms now, right? Good.
We've got your lovely face and your boxes.
Yeah. Well, that's just stuff I've seen in the last couple of days. Mushrooms are starting to really come out up here, which is good. It's definitely entertaining for me and keeps me busy.
Very good. All right, well, thanks for sharing those.
Mhm.
All right, anyone else?
Well, have I?
You
I
go
think
ahead.
I'm going to share, remember that discussion about Hemilexinum subglabriepes, that there's this mysterious lookalike of that mushroom that is genetically a mystery. Nobody knows what it is, where it belongs. And I can probably share an example that I collected last year. It hasn't been sequenced yet, but since I've seen the species more than once, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So I can share that, a series of images, with everybody and show that doppelganger of Hemilexinum subglabriepes.
Go for it. Sounds great.
Can you see anything?
Not yet.
Not yet.
How about now?
Nope, not yet. It's not showing that you're sharing your screen yet.
Hold on a second.
Yep. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to toggle through this thing, and I haven't done this in a while, so I forget how it's done. Anyway, so this is from last year, and this was collected in a park that I visit frequently enough near Trenton, called Washington Crossing State Park. And this is the it was a large collection. There were probably like 2 dozen of these things growing in a beech oak forest. So I'm going to go through these shots and show you that it morphologically does resemble.
Yeah, looks an awful lot like it.
Yep, but it's not that. And you see the cap is different.
Yeah, looks a lot more red in the cap.
It kind of looks more kind of a beige brown with reddish tinges, and it's kind of velvety, not glabrous.
Not smooth. Yeah, yeah, but I can see where, if I wasn't paying attention, I would probably call this the sublabropes.
Yep. So, like I said, I am sequencing this collection just to make sure, because I have sequences from other collections, and that way I can match it to that, or maybe it is sublabropes, which I kind of doubt it is. This is the most mature mushroom. It was not very large, but it was not a tiny one. The other ones are much smaller, as you can see. I can maybe zoom in.
You don't think it has to be sort of closely related, does it?
No, the thing is, the DNA is completely, like you said, you blast it in GenBank and nothing even comes closer from anywhere. So you just wind up with a non-specific a match pattern to a bunch of Boletaceae, to a bunch of boletes from different genera and subfamilies. And this is like a telltale picture of or scenario where you have like a very genetically unique organism that is not a match to anything. So you see, that's the typical cap color. It's very distinct,
Yeah.
reddish tinges, but it's kind of more brown.
Yeah.
At the same time, but not the kind of brown that we have for sublabropes.
Right. Yeah, it's got more yellow in it, and it's of course different texture.
Yes.
Wise. It's very similar.
It is very similar, and that's what I think people were calling it, because, like I said, this thing is found all the way down to the Gulf Coast. It was found in Louisiana, and it was also found, I think, in Florida. And that's why people were saying, well, we just have sublabropes growing, all the way from Maine, southeastern Canada down to the Mexican, Gulf of Mexico. Well, it's not true.
Yeah. What's the taste on this, Igor?
I don't think I've tasted it, but I presume it's going to be mild.
Right, mine is.
It doesn't stain. Doesn't stain blue. Like I said, sublabropes can stain blue, I think, but not this thing.
I'll have to check the staining on mine. I didn't notice it, but I didn't hang on to them, and mine were very young, pretty much. I didn't handle them a lot,
Yeah, so typically when I, you see, I listed, if you see that, I listed all the observations on the Mo of this species and the states where they came from. So the LA collection that I think was sequenced is that.
Oh, wow.
And I think I can show you another New Jersey collection, which is older. Which was sequenced. You can see the ornamentation on this type kind of resembles sublabropes, but once again, genetically, this is not what this is. It doesn't fit into Hemloxinum. And, it does look like sublabropes a lot. You can see the color of the cap.
Yeah, that looks very similar cap to Susan's.
Yeah, but it's not that. We got DNA to prove. And, these are the sequences that are in GenBank. And, you can actually, I can show you how the sequence looks like in GenBank.
It's pretty amazing, though, that it's almost like these things are evolving under our nose, hybridizing or whatever they're doing.
Yep. So as you can see, Louisiana, Ohio, all these Ohio collections that I think are by Walt Sturgeon.
Probably.
Yeah, early MO numbers. But again, if you look at the pictures, I'm pretty sure that's what this is. It's unmistakable. I mean, that overall profile suggests that's what the species is.
That's interesting, Igor.
Yep.
We've got the pine barrens, and it's always fascinated me just walking through there and just seeing such a variety of boletes. It's just very diverse there. It's and I'm not especially good at identifying boletes, but I got to think if there's any kind of unique boletes around in our state of New Jersey, that they would be you'd find them in the pine barrens.
Right. Speaking of the pine barrens, the collection here that I'm going to zoom in into the pictures, was made by Jim Barg 4 years ago, roughly. And this is like very close to the town of Wrightstown, which is sort of in the Pine Barrens area, except that I think ecologically it's like there's like a pocket that is not of the Pine Barrens kind, because Jim said that beech trees were growing there. And I know for certain that beech is completely intolerant of sandy soil. You will never find a beech tree in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. But, here are the pictures. That collection is maybe a day old because Jim brought it into Fungus Fest and he collected it the day before. But, same thing. That's what it looks like. I have this collection saved, but I haven't sequenced it. But I'm willing to bet more than $20 that it is the same critter as I've shown before.
The other thing on this one, indentation at the stipe, how the pores kind of make that dip down to the stem.
Yeah, they're not they're receding. There's like a spacing between the stems.
I would have said mine goes straight in, but I'll have to look at now. There's a lot of them out there now, so I can sort of check between the young ones and the old ones. How do they change over time as they
it could be a variable feature, so I wouldn't put too much trust to that
but still
anatomical trait. But
yeah, it's very prominent on that one.
Yes, I mean, if it was present, universally in multiple collections, you can say, well, maybe it's one of the defining features of this mushroom. But it happens with Boletaceae a lot. On the contrary, for instance, Byrangia bicolor never has that feature. You can see a smooth transition from the pores to the stipe, continuous.
Mm-hmm.
So that feature, again, is used to identify Byrangia bicolor, and that's what separates it from a lookalike, which is Lanmaoa pallidorosea. Anyway, but we're going too deep into the boletes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I have, for this thing. So I'm glad I showed it. And
really interesting.
Yeah, nice collection and interesting mystery.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I said, sequencing it and trying to look for answers there, was kind of fruitless. I mean, I got sequences, so that's good, except that it doesn't really tell you where to place this thing.
Well, it can be an undescribed species too, which is...
Well, I think it is an undescribed species in the sense that it was probably masquerading as a sublabripiece to a lot of people.
Yes, right. But that is what we're starting to really find out, is that, what one bunch might say, oh, yes, that's that for sure. And boy, you get into a different area. The more we know, the less we know.
Yeah, absolutely. But, we're solving these mysteries. And even though we're not, going to the bottom of this, at least we're making progress and saying, well, there's some laboratory and there's this.
Yeah, but this is the kind of thing that if you don't bring it to the attention of some of these folks that are trying to sort these things out, they would skip right over it.
You can't. I mean, I don't go to INAT, so I'm pretty sure that nobody actually knows that you have this there,
Yeah.
And people are probably just, falling for, what they know. They go with what they know. And for them, this is a blabber piece, or as close as you can get to it.
Yeah, but when you talk, I know you don't like iNaturalist, but you know, I was talking about the Swillus subaureus.
Sub-Arius, yes.
When I put that up last year, somebody in iNaturalist ID'd it as Swillus americanus. And I thought, you know, they're not really looking at those pores because I had that Duke University, you know, so, and and I actually knew the person who disputed it. I was gonna send him kind of an email and say, I have a bone to pick with you.
Right. This is the Sabarius collection from Stoke State Forest from a couple of years ago.
Did you have that sequenced?
No, I have not.
Okay, it does look a lot like what I have.
Yeah, you see it's yellow, it has these reddish, you know, blotches.
But it's the pores underneath that are a little bit oranger. Yeah, that looks a lot like what I have. See how tight those little pores are, and see how it's sort of it's not exactly decurrent, but they you know, it's a seamless kind of.
That's what I said, you know, like for instance, you know, Byarangia bicolor, Bovedos bicolor has the same kind of feature where the pores, you know, the pore surface smoothly transitions into the stipe without any break or any gap or anything like that.
Yeah, interesting. Well, boletes I know are your favorite thing, and you know, I never really paid a lot of attention to them until I started seeing more up here. And also that secret place that you know down in New Jersey that I gave you.
Yes.
When that explodes, it's well worth a trip looking for them there.
Yeah.
Good representation of New Jersey boletes there.
Yeah, I've been going there every year and documenting the diversity of species, boletes and amanitas, and there are a bunch of russulas in there. I have no idea what they are. You know, they're just too many.
Yeah. But now see that cap surface that you're showing now, that's very much like what I have.
Yeah.
Very
I have no question about this. This is Sabarius because it was growing in an area where it was only oak and hemlock.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yep.
I'll have to look for hemlock, but Rita's Vigilis was pretty sure it was aspen, poplar aspen, big tooth aspen.
It's possible that it's, you know, mycorrhizal with other.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If it's gone from pine, or you know, Vigilis may not be as mono.
It's not specific to any particular type of tree. It's both conifers and deciduous, you know, hardwood trees like oak or birch or maybe, who knows.
Yeah, that in itself is quite interesting. Oh well, that's kind of neat. I should see. Well, I don't know if I could find it fast enough since we're not doing anything here. I might be able to show you my picture of it. It's good practice for how to use Zoom. It is. I'm not very.
Yeah, absolutely. These things, if you don't use them, you forget.
Well, and I you know, I'm retired, so I don't have to use them at all.
As they say, if you don't use them, you lose them.
Well, I never had occasion to begin with. All right, now I'll show you. I can show you what I've got for what I call subaureus. That, you know, in fact, the number on this picture means that the collection went to. Now wait till I figure out how to do this. Went to Duke University. It's how I was able to keep track of the picture, the dried collection, and something else. Can you see it yet?
There we go.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah, they're really cool. Cool mushroom.
Yeah, I'll probably get my collection sequenced because it was not, you know, a high priority thing because there was a Swillis study published in 2016 that was global as opposed to exclusively North American or Southeast Asian. And, there are sequences of Sabarius in there, and it's in a septomentosus group, which is not surprising. And I just thought that, well, I have a good idea, and just there's no need to spend, $20, $30 on a sequence.
Now see, what's showing right here is what you just showed on the ones you had.
That's right.
Interesting. And see, look on the young one, how interesting that is.
And you can also see when these things are young, there's a bit of velar material on the edge of the cap, those white things in the upper right corner.
Oh, you mean this stuff here?
Yep, that's right.
So it's like an overhang kind of thing.
It's an overhang, and septomentosus have exactly, I think, the same thing.
Oh, interesting. Now, see, these are from two vastly different years, and they might be from different places. These are all what I sort of keep in my own little file of, when I see these over the years. But I have two, this would have been one of the first collections I made of this. Different camera and everything. Anyway, it's been kind of fun. It took me about 4 years to figure out what they were. And that was
right. When I came across the species for the first time, I thought it was something new, and I had to do a bit of research, to see what it could resemble. And finally, I got my answer, but I only seen it twice, and both times it came from Stokes, which is in extreme northwestern New Jersey.
Yeah,
so you have to go to that hemlock, mixed forest with hemlock and birch and an oak to see it.
Yeah. Stokes is the most similar of New Jersey forests that I know of that are similar to what I have up here.
Correct. Yes.
Which is kind of neat. Anyway, that's fun. That's interesting. And when I first found that, I kept saying this is not Swillis americanus, but I said there's something wrong here.
No, Swillis americanus is an obligatory mycorrhizal species with white pine.
Well, I know it is, but the point is it took me, this is the kind of observation that I had to make, and anybody learning, you have to be super observant. And if it's not like what a mushroom should be like, you have to pursue it. Try and figure out what's different about it and why. Anyway, it was interesting. So now I know that mushroom cold. And if any place that I would be, I would recognize it.
Yep.
Why it pissed me off that somebody had on Naturalist disputed it.
Well,
easy enough for somebody to do. So just
absolutely.
Yeah, put a comment back, get a dialogue going, and
yeah. If I was more clever, I would.
Now you can do it. Just go to comment.
Yeah. I haven't yet figured out how you identify other people's collections, but that's mostly because I've been lazy and haven't tried to figure that out.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right, very good. All right, anything else they'd like to share or ask a question or anything?
I know there's not so many of you here, but August 20th, if you happen to be up in the Adirondacks, to Blue Mountain Lake Museum, Adirondack Museum or Adirondack Experience, we're having a Mushroom Mania Fest. Tim Baroni's going to be there, and Sue Van Hook, as well as a few others from, Dart's even going to come up. So it should be fun. It's a very big museum public event.
Yeah, Susan, I have a question for you. There is a foray in Letchworth State Forest that the Rama Club is hosting. And the Rama is Rochester Area Mycological Association.
Yeah,
Are you going to that one?
I'm not. The only time I've been that way was when the Northeast foray was in January. Yeah, I have not been.
2018.
Yeah, I have not been over there. It's a good 6-hour drive from me.
Really?
Yeah, because see, I have to bisect the entire Adirondacks just to get down to Syracuse or go around it to Watertown to get down there. 3 hours to get to Syracuse and then go west from there.
Yeah, you're right. There are no major highways other than 90 going east to west. So you have to probably take a lot of the local roads or local highways, and you can only maybe drive 50, 55 miles an hour in there.
Yeah, you can't go fast through the Adirondacks.
That's right. Yeah, I know that.
And yet that's the beauty of it. You can't go fast through the Adirondacks.
Yeah, so you can be more appreciative of the scenery.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. That's true.
Okay, all right, well, thanks for raising the flag about the festival on August 20th at the Blue Mountain Museum.
Right. Yeah, I'll probably talk more about that when it gets closer.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I think that probably concludes for tonight. So I thank everyone for joining that's still on here. And if we don't see you Saturday at Meadowwood, hopefully we see everyone back here next Tuesday night.
Thank you, Leila.
You're welcome. All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Good night.
Bye.